So most of us creatives start businesses because we just want to do the things that we love. And rarely, I don't think, do we think about all the business aspect of what it is that we're embarking on. And today I want to share with you the 4 sales mistakes that I made when I started my first handmade business through Etsy, in a hope that it helps you think about the things that you're already doing in your business in a way that you can streamline it and advance your revenue so that you can live the life you live. So if that is of interest to you, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Doreca Delbridge. If you're a returning viewer, you know I'm Miss Dory. Welcome. I'm an occupational psychologist and I work with creative entrepreneurs to help them to sustainably create profitable businesses. If that is of interest to you, make sure you check the description down below for the program that I offer. So the very first business I started was in wedding design, and it was actually making handmade products and selling them through Etsy, as well as offering a service of designing concept for wedding decor. And I ventured into that because I was very much interested in design. I have a sense of space. Whenever I'm walking into space, I feel like things are talking to me. I know when things are being too loud, when things need to be designed a certain way. And naturally, the creative side was the driver for me starting that business. So I want to share with you the 4 sales mistakes that I made in a hope that you can review your business and see if you are actually making the same mistakes. Because these are the mistakes that I felt held back my revenue generation. My business would have been completely different had I implemented this, but I didn't know that at the time. I have learned since then when I started other businesses how these aspects are really, really key, and I wish I had actually implemented them in my Etsy business. So the first one was I did not do any market research specifically for Etsy. I had the business idea of a wedding and I did, market research as you do online, right? In that industry as a whole, but I didn't really do that specifically for Etsy. And the reason this is important is because when you are working and you are offering your products on Etsy, you need to know keywords, you need to know specifically who you are targeting, you need to know how you're writing your descriptions for your products and who you're speaking to, right? This became more apparent to me when I started doing Amazon FBA. Because I realized if you don't really speak to a specific person, you're really speaking to nobody. And because I didn't know who I was selling to, because I didn't have that specific target and who is my audience, who is coming to Etsy to buy what I was offering, I just went with what I thought needed to be said, right? You research, as they say, research your competitors, see what they are saying. And the fact that I didn't do that when it comes to Etsy really held me back because I was more positioning everything in terms of what everybody else was doing rather than what I was actually bringing to the table. That doesn't really help you when you are trying to differentiate yourself in a noisy market like what Etsy is now. When I started in 2012, it was very different. And if I can remember, I'll add stats of how much it has grown from 2012 when I started to 2020 or 2021, which we're in now, but reports usually have to come out like a year later. So you get my drift. 2020 will be the latest report that we can have. But my first mistake was that I did not do market research and specifically thinking about what that translates to on Etsy. And that first mistake actually led to my second mistake, which was not having a specific niche. And by that, I mean speaking to a specific person rather than just a group or people who like a certain thing. So for me, when I was doing products on Etsy, I was doing wedding photography props, right? And I really didn't know who specific person, like I didn't have a specific name, I didn't have a specific circumstance. Why would they need this, right? And at the time, I had this idea of this will probably be destination wedding, but I was really scared to be specific about that audience because I thought, I would be excluding all these other people that might need a wedding prop. Why am I going to be speaking specifically to destination wedding people? But everything I was creating at the time was in thinking of that. It had the right packaging. It was really light, so they could pack it light as they're going away on destination. It would mark, and all the products and the feel of it and everything else was actually taking that into account for the destinations they may go into. But I was really scared at the time to niche down because I thought niching down meant excluding. And that is actually what I've grown to learn. That is actually a good thing. You do want to exclude people because you want to speak specifically to that person. You want to have a language in your product description and benefits and everything else that speaks to that one person. And so not having that definitive niche meant that I couldn't use that language, nor could I position myself very differently from what everybody else was offering in that area. And it just meant like I was ending up being just a comparison of price or efficiency or how quickly can she ship this? Is it free shipping, right? You end up being compared with everybody else, which if you are really creating really quality products, you don't want it to be about that. You want to be about the value that you create. And at the time, that was a mistake I was making because I just didn't know. And we don't know what we don't know. But now I know better. I can pass on the tip to you. Don't do that. Be really specific to a person you're speaking to. So if you're finding value in what I've shared so far, make sure you give this video a like. It does help my channel reach more people like yourself, and it makes a huge difference and impact to my channel growth overall. And I appreciate you clicking that like button. And so the third sales mistake that I made, I wish I had avoided in my Etsy handmade business, was that I lacked revenue generation clarity. So basically, I just went in with the idea of I'm just going to create the best product, and I didn't know how many of those would I need to create. I didn't even calculate specifically. Not that I remember, maybe I did at the time, but I didn't really have like a calculation of like realistically how many of these can I create in order to bring in the income that I need. I just created the thing because I love to create the thing and just put it up in the store, in my Etsy store, without thinking, well, how many would I be able to create? That's a very different model, for example, to digital product that I do now, because I only have to create it once and it doesn't matter how quickly it scales or how many people purchase it. I wouldn't have to fulfill it. Like I wouldn't have to create the thing each and every time somebody places an order for my digital product. But I definitely had to do that for my physical product, my handmade product. And I didn't really at the time calculate, what if there are like 10 orders in a day? Can I still fulfill that? How much revenue is that now generating for me? And is that something that can fulfill the income that I need? So I lacked that clarity over the revenue that I needed to bring and how that translated to what I needed to produce and whether that was realistic or not. And I feel like for so many of us that start that way or are doing that way, it's very easy to then really burn out very quick because we are constantly running to fulfill, especially when we are becoming popular or our product is hitting the right place with the market. And then we're finding ourselves like the success is now like a dreaded, like, oh my gosh, if one more person places an order, I'm so exhausted today, right? You end up finding yourself in that place because I think this happens when we have not calculated to know what's the maximum that I'm going to take, how long will I fulfill that, and so forth, right? And that requires that productivity, tracking of understanding, right? But also it comes down to not pricing your product based on like the time it takes you, the material, which I know is the thing that I was taught at the time. I had no concept of value pricing, for example, what that was translating to my client. And it wasn't type of fabric, which was what was translating to them. If I was choosing a really quality type of fabric or material, it was what was that translating to them. And I'll give you a really quick example. My daughter, she's highly sensitive. Fabrics have a feeling and changes her mood when she wears something comfortable versus when she's not. I'm a little bit like that, but she's in a different level, right? So whenever we're buying clothes, the clothes and the fabric and how we're choosing them is not so much just the quality, how much does this fabric cost, is what the quality of life that produces for her. She's comfortable, she's less agitated because of the fabric she's wearing at that time. She feels more confident, comfortable. It changes how she shows up every day. When she wears something that feels good on her skin, you see her body and her mood changing. Those are the things we are translating and bringing to our buyers, our customers. Sometimes we miss thinking about those and we just price something based on how much does cost of material cost? How much can I pay myself for the hours that I worked? But the fact that you had to think about these things, for example, if you had to think really careful about what it is that you're producing for your client, you would realize you're creating value beyond the time it takes you. And especially if it's taking you now shorter time to create a thing because you've become more of an expert, why should you now be compensated less because you are now more of an expert and can do it faster, right? Does that make sense? So I didn't know that at the time. And so my lack of clarity in terms of revenue generating was really warped. I didn't know what I was creating, the value I was creating, and I didn't price myself accordingly and just lacked those targets. So I didn't have those. So if you are doing that, have a think about how is that translating in your business. And the fourth sales mistake that I wish I had avoided was not creating or having clarity around product managing the creative side versus the promoting side. And I was always feeling like I was playing catch up. Like I would be creating the whole time and that would be the fun part. And I wouldn't really have time scheduled in for promoting. And I was fortunate to, even that back then, delegate some of those things. So I joined a group and paid this lady that she would promote me in different places. But again, remember, I didn't have a niche. So this was really just scattered strategy because she was promoting me in places maybe it would not have been ideal had I really been really clear in the niche. That was a very different experience to when I was meeting people face to face. If I did a show somewhere, because I would meet a person and I would create a rapport, I would understand where they are. I could target what I was saying to benefit what they were saying. I could find the product that would fit them better because I wasn't doing that. And you can't do that for every single person that comes to your shop. You can't all of a sudden your script on, the script and the text on your shop changes because a new person has come in, right? If that happened, okay, if somebody can do an app or something that does that, oh my gosh, that would be amazing, right? The text changes according to who is viewing it. That would be awesome. But because we can't do that, we have to speak to a specific person. And so for me, even when I hired that lady to do that promoting for me, it was really scattered. And I didn't really have any other way of actually showing up and showing what I have or showing what I offered. And maybe because I didn't really have a niche, maybe wasn't communicating the value that I was creating with what the products that I was making. And so not having that specific way, not project managing the creating side and the promoting side really impaired the growth that I was able to make. And in the end, it just became really stressful experience because I was always feeling like I'm playing catch up. And I really didn't even know where the most effective avenues to target, because then again, I still didn't know what niche specifically I was speaking to because I was too scared to niche, right? I know better now. Hopefully these 4 mistakes that I made will give you some insight into looking into your own business and seeing what tweaks can you make so that you can continue to sustainably generate profit and growth in your business. So if you found value in this video, make sure you give it a like. If you have not subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe and share this video in the communities that you frequent. I'll make sure to link right here more videos that can help you build a business that is sustainable and enjoyable and that helps you live a life fully lived. And as we all say on this channel, focus on being than doing. And I'll see you in the next one.